Captain Daniel Price stood at the entrance of the grand chamber and tried not to show his nervousness. The massive hall stretched before him like a crystal cathedral, its walls made of some transparent material that showed the stars beyond. A neutron star pulsed in the distance, its light casting strange shadows through the chamber. Beside him, Lieutenant Maya Torres adjusted her translation device. She was the best linguistics specialist in the human fleet, and today they would need her skills more than ever. This was the day Earth would receive its formal name in the Galactic Council's records. "Ready?" Daniel asked. Maya nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. Do you think they'll actually accept us?" "They invited us here, that's something." The doors opened fully and they walked into the chamber. Daniel had seen the recordings, had studied the layout, but nothing prepared him for the reality. 847 species had representatives here. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Daniel's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. A being made entirely of crystal sat on the highest platform. This was High Arbiter Hun, leader of the Council and one of the oldest living creatures in the galaxy. His species had been exploring space when Earth's dinosaurs still walked the planet. "Approach," Hun's voice echoed through the chamber, translated instantly into English by Maya's device. They walked forward. Daniel kept his pace steady, neither too fast nor too slow. Every species here was watching, judging whether humanity deserved a place among them. A reptilian diplomat called Ambassador watched them from his seat. His eyes were cold, calculating. Daniel knew had argued against accepting humans into the Council. Too young, he had said, too aggressive, too unpredictable. They reached the center of the chamber. A platform rose from the floor beneath them, lifting them so all could see. "Captain Daniel Price of Earth," Hun began. "Lieutenant Maya Torres, you stand before the Galactic Council to receive your world's true name. This is a tradition older than most civilizations. Every species that joins us receives a name in the ancient language of the precursors." Daniel bowed his head respectfully. "We are honored, High Arbiter." "The precursors left us many gifts," Hun continued. "Language, technology, knowledge, but their greatest gift was the naming system. In their language, every world has a true name that describes its essence, its purpose, its destiny." A new figure appeared in the chamber, projected as a hologram. It was the Keeper of Names, an artificial intelligence that had served the Council for millions of years. Its form shifted constantly, never quite settling into one shape. "I am ready to begin," the Keeper announced. Its voice sounded like music and machinery combined. The chamber fell silent. This was the moment every species remembered, the moment they learned who they truly were in the eyes of the Ancient Ones. The Keeper's form began to glow. Symbols appeared in the air around it, alien characters that hurt to look at directly. They were the written form of the precursor language, a script so complex that no organic mind could fully comprehend it. "Accessing designation for World Sol 3, locally designated Earth," the Keeper said. "Beginning translation sequence." The symbols spun faster. Maya leaned forward, her trained eye trying to catch patterns in the ancient writing. Daniel felt the weight of history pressing down on him. In a few moments, they would learn what the precursors had called their world. Then something changed. The Keeper's form flickered. The symbols stopped spinning and turned red. A sound like breaking glass echoed through the chamber. "Error," the Keeper said. Its voice carried an edge of something that might have been confusion. "Unexpected result, recalculating." Hun stood up. "Keeper, what is wrong?" "The designation exists," the Keeper replied, "but it cannot be translated using standard protocols." Murmurs spread through the Council. Representatives turned to each other, speaking in hundreds of languages. Maya's device struggled to keep up with the translations. His voice cut through the noise. "What does that mean? Every world has a name that can be translated." "Not this one," the Keeper said. The symbols around it were now flashing multiple colors. "This designation exists in a language that predates the precursor standard. I have searched my databases. This name appears in the old tongue." The chamber went completely silent. Even the murmurs stopped. Hun's crystal body seemed to dim. "The old tongue has not been spoken in 200 million years." "Correct," the Keeper confirmed. "And yet Earth's designation exists in that language. More concerning, the name is flagged with the highest level of restriction. I cannot speak it without Council authorization." Daniel felt Maya's hand grip his arm. This was not supposed to happen. The nomming ceremony was supposed to be simple, routine. Now something was very wrong. "What level of restriction?" Hun asked quietly. "Level 1, the keeper replied. "The same level reserved for weapons of galactic extinction." The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted in alarm. Some stood and pointed at Daniel, and Maya was speaking rapidly to his neighbors, his expression triumphant. "Silence," Hun's voice boomed through the hall. The noise died away. "Keeper, explain, why would a world's name carry such a restriction?" "I do not know," the keeper admitted. "But the restriction was placed by the precursors themselves. The file indicates that Earth's true name is linked to prophecy and warning. To speak it without understanding would be dangerous." Maya stepped forward. "High Arbiter, we didn't know about any of this. Earth is just a world. We're just people trying to find our place in the galaxy." Hun looked at her for a long moment. "I believe you, Lieutenant, but the precursors did not place such restrictions lightly. They were the beings who ever lived." He turned to address the full council. "We have 3 options. We can deny Earth's membership and send these humans home. We can grant them membership but leave their true name unspoken. Or we can open the Forbidden Archive and learn what the precursors wanted us to know." "The Forbidden Archive has been sealed for 40 million years, one representative called out. "Opening it could be catastrophic." "Not opening it might be worse," another countered. "If Earth carries such a designation, we need to know why." Daniel watched as the council debated. This was spinning out of control. They had come here hopping for acceptance, for a place among the stars. Instead, they had uncovered some ancient mystery that frightened species far older and wiser than humanity. Hun raised one crystalline hand. "We will vote, all in favor of opening the Forbidden Archive to learn Earth's true name." The vote was close. Many representatives abstained, unwilling to commit either way. But in the end, curiosity won over fear. "The motion passes," Hun announced. "We will descend into the archive. Captain Price, Lieutenant Torres, you will accompany me. If your world carries a name of such significance, you deserve to learn its meaning." Elevator descended for what felt like hours. Daniel watched the walls pass by, each layer marking a different era of galactic history. They moved through stone, then metal, then materials he could not identify. The air grew colder with each passing minute. Maya stood beside him, her tablet recording everything. High Arbiter Hun remained silent, his crystal body glowing faintly in the darkness. 3 other beings had joined them, entities made of pure energy that the Council called the Ancient Ones. They were the oldest members of the Council, so old that their original bodies had long since turned to dust. Finally, the elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a vast chamber carved from black stone. Lights flickered on, revealing shelves that stretched into the distance. Each shelf held data crystals, information storage devices, and objects that description. An elderly alien shuffled forward to meet them. His species looked almost human, but his skin was pale blue and his eyes were too large. This was Keeper, guardian of the Forbidden Archive. "High Arbiter said," his voice trembled with age. "I have served here for 3,000 years. In all that time, no one has entered this place. Are you certain this is necessary?" "Show them the seal," Hun replied. Led them deeper into the archive. They passed shelves labeled with names of extinct civilizations, species that had risen and fallen long before Earth's sun had formed. Finally, they reached a door marked with symbols that seemed to writhe and shift. "The seal of the precursors," explained. "Behind this door are the names that could not be spoken, names that carried power, names that carried prophecy, names that carried warning." "How many are there?" Maya asked. 17 said. 17 worlds in the entire galaxy that the precursors marked as special. Earth is the 18th. One of the Ancient Ones drifted forward. Its voice echoed inside their minds. "I remember stories from my youth, tales of a world that slept beyond the rim. The elders said it was a place the precursors watched with both hope and fear." "What kind of world inspires fear in the precursors?" Daniel asked. "That is what we are here to learn," Hun said. He placed his hand against the door. The symbols flared bright, scanning him. Then the door began to open. The room beyond was small, just large enough for their group. In the center stood a pedestal holding a single crystal. It pulsed with inner light. "The archive is protected," warned. "It will test us. The precursors did not want this knowledge falling into unworthy hands." As he spoke, the crystal brightened. Holographic images appeared around them, showing the precursors themselves. They were tall, elegant beings with 6 arms and eyes that glowed with inner fire. The images were not just recordings. They felt alive, aware. A voice spoke in a language so old that even the translation devices struggled. But slowly, words formed. If you are seeing this, then one of the marked worlds has awakened. You seek to know its true name. Very well. But first, you must prove yourselves worthy of this knowledge. The room changed. Daniel found himself standing on Earth, but not the Earth he knew. This was Earth millions of years ago, during the age of dinosaurs. He watched as a massive asteroid struck the planet. Fire consumed the continents. Oceans boiled. The sky turned black. The first test, the precursor voice said. The world called Earth has died 5 times. Each time, life returned stronger than before. Why? Maya's voice came from beside him, though he could not see her. Natural selection. Each extinction event cleared the way for new species. Evolution accelerated. Correct, the voice said, but incomplete. The extinctions were not random. The scene changed. Now Daniel saw the precursors themselves, standing on a young Earth. They were planting something in the soil, encoding something in the genetic structure of the simplest organisms. We guided evolution, the voice continued. Not directly, not obviously, but we planted seeds. We ensured that life on Earth would face challenges, that it would be tested again and again. Why, Daniel asked, why put Earth through such suffering? The second test, the voice replied. What makes a species strong? This time Hun answered. Adversity, struggle, the need to overcome challenges. Yes, Earth was designed to create survivors, species that could adapt to anything, species that would never give up no matter the cost. The scene shifted again. Now they saw references to Earth in dozens of different languages, written by species that had long since vanished. Maya stepped forward, reading the symbols. They all say the same thing, she whispered. Warning, do not disturb, do not investigate, do not approach. Why would so many species fear Earth? Daniel demanded. The third test, the voice said. What happens when you create the perfect survivors? An image appeared of a galaxy at war. Thousands of species fighting, dying, worlds burning, stars going dark. 200 million years ago, the galaxy nearly died, the precursor voice explained. An enemy came from beyond the void. They called themselves the Harvesters. They consumed everything. No weapon could stop them. No defense could hold. The Ancient Ones stirred. We remember, one of them said. We lost so much. We fought for 1,000,000 years, the voice continued. We tried every weapon, every strategy. Nothing worked. The Harvesters were too strong, too adaptable, so we created something new, not a weapon of metal or energy, but a weapon of life itself. The images focused on Earth again. This time, Daniel saw the precursors carefully adjusting the planet's position, fine-tuning its environment, ensuring that evolution would follow a very specific path. Earth was our final project, the voice said. A world designed to create the ultimate survivors, not the strongest, but the most adaptable, the most persistent, the species that would never accept defeat. Humanity, Maya breathed. Yes, but we were never certain the project would work, so we placed Earth under observation. We warned other species to stay away, and we encoded its true name with a prophecy. The crystal on the pedestal began to spin. Symbols appeared in the air, forming words in the ancient language. Earth's true name translates to your language as the cradle of shadows, the voice said. The place where darkness learns to fight darkness. Daniel felt a chill run through him. You created humanity to fight the Harvesters. We created the conditions for humanity to evolve, the voice corrected. You became what you are through your own struggle, your own choices, your own will to survive. Hun stepped forward. The Harvesters were defeated. They disappeared 200 million years ago. Why does the prophecy remain? The voice was silent for a long moment. Then the final message appeared. Because the Harvesters are not destroyed. They are dormant. And when they return, only the children of the cradle will have the strength to stand against them. The room went dark. Then they were back in the archive, standing around the crystal, was staring at them with wide eyes. The prophecy, he whispered. After 200 million years, the prophecy is about to be fulfilled. One of the Ancient Ones spoke urgently. Our deep space sensors have detected anomalies at the galaxy's edge. We thought they were natural phenomena. When, Daniel asked, 3 months ago. Maya pulled out her tablet and began running calculations. Her face went pale. If they're moving at the speeds described in the archive, they'll reach Council space in 3 months. Hun turned to Daniel. Your species was created to fight them, but you have only just learned about space travel. You have no weapons capable of fighting something that nearly destroyed the entire galaxy. Daniel met his gaze steadily. Then we'll figure something out. That's what humans do. We adapt. We overcome. We survive. And if you fail, asked quietly. Then at least we'll go down fighting, Daniel replied. That's also what humans do. The crystal pulsed one final time and a new message appeared. When the cradle wakes, the old wars will return, but this time the children of Earth will not fight alone. All who value life must stand together, or all will fall. As they returned to the elevator, Maya walked beside Daniel. We came here hopping to join the council peacefully. Now we find out we were designed to be soldiers in a war that ended before our species even existed. Do you think we can win? Daniel asked. The council chamber had transformed into a center of frantic activity. Representatives from hundreds of species crowded around holographic displays, watching data streams from deep space sensors. The readings were undeniable. Something was coming. Daniel stood at a command console with Maya and a new arrival from Earth, Dr. Colin Hayes. Colin was a human archaeologist who had spent years studying alien ruins. When word reached Earth about the archive discovery, he had been rushed to the council on the fastest ship available. 5 separate sites, Colin was saying, pointing at a star map. All of them ancient precursor facilities, all of them contain references to Earth. Ambassador and diplomat with 4 arms and compound eyes leaned closer. My species has studied the precursors we never found any connection to Earth. Because you weren't looking for it, Colin replied. The precursors hid the references in plain sight. Look at this symbol. He projected an image of a circular glyph with a small blue dot at its center. This appears at all 5 sites. We thought it represented a star, but it's not a star. It's Earth. The blue dot is our world. The circle represents the observation protocols. Commander entered the chamber. She was from a warrior species, tall and powerful, with scales that could deflect most weapons. She had been assigned to provide security for the investigation teams. The ships are ready, announced. We can have teams at all 5 sites within 2 days. Hun approached their group. The High Arbiter looked tired, which was remarkable for a being who rarely showed emotion. The Council has voted to investigate these sites immediately. Captain Price, will you lead one of the teams? Of course, Daniel said. I'll go too, Maya added quickly. Hun nodded. Dr. Hayes, you will coordinate from here. Your knowledge of precursor archaeology may reveal connections the teams cannot see. They divided into 5 groups. Daniel's team would investigate a facility on a dead world near the galactic core. Maya would join his team at a site in the outer rim. 3 other teams would cover the remaining locations. 2 days later, Daniel stood on a planet that had been dead for millions of years. The precursor facility rose from the barren surface like a crystal mountain. Its walls were still intact, still gleaming despite the age. Incredible, one of the team members said. Most precursor sites are ruins. This looks like it was built yesterday. They entered through a massive doorway. Inside, the facility was pristine. Lights activated as they walked, responding to their presence. The walls were covered in the same circular symbol Colin had identified. Daniel's communicator crackled. Captain Price, this is Dr. Hayes. Are you seeing the symbols? Yes, they're everywhere. Good, now look for variations. The basic symbol represents observation, but there should be modified versions that provide more information. Daniel's team spread out, scanning the walls. It was Maya who found the first variation, transmitting from her site across the galaxy. I've got something. The symbol here has additional marks, like tally marks. Colin's voice came through with excitement. Those represent time intervals. The precursors were tracking something. Send me a clear image. While they waited for Colin to analyze the data, Daniel explored deeper into the facility. He found a room filled with display screens. They activated as he approached, showing images of Earth through different time periods. I'm seeing Earth's history, Daniel reported. Starting from, I think this is about 4 billion years ago. The planet was just forming. Keep watching, Colin said. The precursors documented everything. The images cycled faster. Daniel saw the first oceans form, the first life appear, the first mass extinction, then another, and another. Each time the precursors had been watching, recording, adjusting. They really did guide our evolution, Daniel said quietly. Every major extinction event, they were there, not causing it directly, but ensuring it happened at the right time. From another site, Commander's voice joined the communication. I have found weapons here, precursor technology designed to fight something incredibly powerful. What kind of weapons? Hun asked. Genetic weapons, biological warfare on a galactic scale, and something else. Psychological weapons, things designed to attack the mind. Daniel felt cold. They were desperate. These aren't the weapons of a civilization fighting for territory. These are the weapons of a species fighting for survival. All teams report your findings, Colin directed. One by one, the teams shared what they had discovered. Each site told part of the same story. The harvesters had been unstoppable. They consumed matter and energy, growing stronger with each world they destroyed. The precursors had thrown everything at them and failed. Earth was Plan Z, Colin said from the council station. The last desperate attempt. They couldn't create a weapon strong enough, so they created a species that would never stop fighting, a species that would adapt to any threat. Maya's voice was thoughtful. But why make us wait so long? Why not activate humanity 200 million years ago when the harvesters were still active? Because you weren't ready, one of the ancient ones replied. The precursors knew the harvesters would return. They needed humanity to develop naturally, to grow strong without being shaped by immediate war, to become survivors by choice, not by design. Daniel found another room, this one filled with genetic data. Screens showed the human genome in incredible detail, with certain sections highlighted. I'm seeing our DNA. There are markers here, specific genes that the precursors emphasized. What kind of genes? Colin asked. Daniel scanned the information. Adaptability, pattern recognition, social cooperation, endurance, and something else. A gene cluster labeled with the word persistence. That's the key, Colin said. Humans don't give up. It's literally encoded in our DNA. We can lose 100 battles and still keep fighting. Spoke from her site. We have found predictions here, mathematical models showing how humanity would develop. They are remarkably accurate. The precursors knew humans would develop space travel approximately now. They knew humans would discover the council. They knew everything. Not everything, Maya countered. Look at this section. The predictions end at our current time period. After this, there are no models, no projections. Why? Daniel asked. Because the precursors could not predict the outcome of the war, Hun said. They could guide humanity's development, but they could not guarantee victory. This was always a gamble. Daniel moved to the final chamber in his facility. Here, he found something that made his blood run cold. It was a display showing the current galaxy, and at its edge, red markers were appearing, hundreds of them. The harvesters, he whispered. All teams were seeing it too, confirmed. The invasion has begun. Colin's voice was tight with tension. According to the data I'm seeing, each of those markers represents a harvester ship. They're not as large as I expected. Don't underestimate them, one of the ancient ones warned. A single harvester ship can consume an entire star system. They grow as they feed. Daniel examined the display more carefully. The harvester fleet was moving in a specific pattern, not random at all. They're targeting specific worlds, systems with high populations. They're going for the most life-rich areas first. Maya gasped. That's the Council's core territory, all the major colonies. How long until they arrive? Hun asked. Daniel checked the calculations. 3 months, maybe less if they accelerate. Then we have 3 months to prepare, said. 3 months to ready defenses that defeated the precursors with millions of years of preparation. No, Daniel said. We have 3 months to find another way. The precursors tried to fight the harvesters with superior technology and failed. We need a different approach. What approach? Demanded. You said it yourself. These things consume star systems. What can humanity offer that the precursors could not? Daniel thought about everything he had learned. About Earth's history, about humanity's struggles, about the gene-labeled persistence. The precursors were trying to win. We need to focus on surviving long enough to understand what we're fighting. Explain, Hun said. Every team has found weapons, Daniel continued. Weapons that didn't work. The harvesters adapted to everything the precursors tried. But what if the precursors were fighting wrong? What if you can't beat the harvesters by being stronger? What if you beat them by being too stubborn to die? Colin's voice carried a note of realization. You're talking about attrition warfare, not trying to destroy them quickly, just refusing to let them win. Exactly, humans are good at that. We've fought wars that lasted generations. We've rebuilt from devastation. We know how to lose battles and still win wars. Maya added her thoughts. And we're social. We cooperate. The precursors might have been more advanced, but were they unified? Did 800 species work together, or did each one try to solve the problem alone? The silence that followed answered her question. The precursors created humanity to be survivors, Daniel said. Not because we're the strongest but because we don't know how to quit, and because we understand that survival means working together. Hun's voice was firm. Then we have 3 months to teach the Council what humanity knows. 3 months to unite 800 species into a single fighting force. 3 months to prove that the precursors' gamble will pay off. And if it doesn't, asked. Daniel looked at the red markers spreading across the display. Then the harvesters will learn that even if they destroy us, we'll make them remember the fight. Earth didn't create conquerors. We created survivors who protect what matters. As the teams prepared to return to the Council, Colin transmitted one final piece of data. I found the full translation of the Council chamber had never been so crowded or so loud. Every representative was present, and many had brought military advisors. Arguments echoed off the crystal walls as species debated what to do about the approaching harvester fleet. Daniel stood with Maya and a new arrival from Earth, General Lisa Ward. Lisa had commanded human defense forces for 20 years. She was tough, experienced, and not easily impressed. Right now, she was studying holographic displays of the harvester fleet with growing concern. These things are massive, Lisa said. One of them is the size of Earth's moon. That's a small one, Hun replied. He stood beside them, watching the chaos in the chamber. The largest harvesters during the old wars grew to the size of small planets. Ambassador's voice cut through the noise. We should destroy Earth now before its people can fulfill their designed purpose. The precursors created them as weapons. We should not allow weapons to exist. We're people, not weapons, Daniel shot back. We have a choice in what we become. Do you? Challenged. Your entire evolution was guided. Your instincts were shaped. Your very genes were modified to create soldiers. You have no more choice than a sword has in being sharp. Before Daniel could respond, one of the Ancient Ones spoke. Its energy form pulsed with agitation. I remember the old wars. I was young then, barely a century old. My world was one of the first attacked. The chamber fell silent. The Ancient Ones rarely spoke about their past. The harvesters came without warning, the being continued. They appeared in our system and began consuming our sun. We had weapons, we had shields, nothing worked. They adapted to everything we tried. How did your world survive? Maya asked. It didn't, not really. The precursors arrived and drove the harvesters away, but my sun was half consumed. My people evacuated. We have been wanderers ever since. Another Ancient One joined in. My species tried to negotiate. We offered the harvesters resources, technology, anything they wanted. They did not respond. They do not communicate. They only consume. The third Ancient One's voice was bitter. We tried to flee. We loaded our people onto ships and ran to the far edges of the galaxy. The harvesters followed. They are patient. They can wait centuries to catch their prey. Hun raised his hand for silence. Thank you for sharing your memories. Now we must decide. We have 3 options. First, we can flee as many did before. Second, we can fight with our current forces. Third, we can trust Earth's people to lead us in a different kind of war. Trust them, said. They only learned about us weeks ago. They have no experience with galactic warfare. Lisa stepped forward. You're right. We don't have experience with galactic warfare, but we have experience with survival. Earth has been through ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. We're still here. That proves nothing, replied. You survived challenges on one small world. The harvesters threaten the entire galaxy. The scale is different, Lisa agreed. But the principle is the same. You survive by adapting, by learning from failure, by refusing to give up. Spoke up from her position. The diplomat had been quietly listening. General Ward, what would humanity do in this situation? Lisa walked to the central display showing the harvester fleet. First, we'd gather intelligence. We need to understand how they think, how they operate, what they want. They want to consume, one representative said. That's all they do. Maybe, Lisa replied. But there has to be more. Nothing survives for 200 million years by just eating. They must have some kind of goal, some purpose. The precursors never discovered one, Hun said. Did they try, Daniel asked, or did they just try to destroy the harvesters? The question hung in the air. Finally, one of the ancient ones responded. We were afraid. When you are afraid, you do not think clearly, you only react. Then we need to do better, Maya said. We need to understand them before we fight them. Laughed harshly. Understand them, they will arrive in 3 months. We do not have time for understanding. We have time to try, Daniel insisted. And if understanding fails, at least we'll know more than the precursors did. The debate continued for hours. Species argued about fleet positions, defensive strategies, evacuation plans. Through it all, Daniel noticed something troubling. The council was fractured. Each species was planning its own defense, its own survival. No one was talking about working together. Finally, Hun called for a vote. All in favor of allowing Earth's representatives to coordinate our defense strategy. The vote was close. Many species abstained. Others voted against. But in the end, the motion passed by a narrow margin. Stood angrily. This is a mistake. You are placing the fate of the galaxy in the hands of children playing at war. This galaxy's fate was placed in our hands millions of years ago, Lisa replied calmly. We didn't ask for this burden, but we'll carry it anyway because that's what we do. As and his supporters left the chamber, Daniel turned to Hun. You voted for us? Why? You barely know us. The High Arbiter was quiet for a moment. My species was once very different. We were aggressive, territorial, violent. Then the precursors came to our world. They did not conquer us. They did not destroy us. They showed us a better way. They saved us. You think we can save the galaxy? Maya asked. I think the precursors believed you could. That is enough for me. Over the next weeks, Daniel and Lisa worked to organize a unified defense. It was harder than any battle they had ever fought. Species that had been enemies for centuries had to work together. Cultures that valued honor above survival had to accept retreat as a valid strategy. Scientists who had never shared research had to pool their knowledge. Lisa established training programs, teaching Council forces human military doctrine. The key principle was simple: survive first, win second. Maya worked with linguists from 100 species, trying to find any way to communicate with the harvesters. They analyzed every recorded encounter, looking for patterns. Colin arrived from Earth with a team of historians and archaeologists. They studied precursor battle records, looking for mistakes to avoid. But as the weeks passed, Daniel saw the same problem growing worse. The Council was cooperating on the surface, but underneath, fear was breaking them apart. Species were secretly building evacuation fleets. Others were hoarding weapons and resources. 2 months after the discovery, Daniel called a meeting of all military commanders. We have a problem, he said bluntly. We're not actually working together, we're just pretending to. Commander nodded. My people are doing the same. The Council has voted for unity, but most species are preparing to abandon each other when the harvesters arrive. Then we need to change that, Lisa said. We need to give them a reason to stay and fight. What reason? Asked. The precursors could not win. Why should we believe we can? Because we're not trying to win, Daniel replied. Not immediately. We're trying to survive long enough to find a solution. He activated a display showing human military history. This is the Battle of Stalingrad. This is the Siege of Malta. This is the defense of Wake Island. Humans lost all of these battles, but we made the enemy pay such a high price that it changed the entire war. You want us to sacrifice worlds to slow the harvesters? Asked. No, Lisa said firmly. We want to make every world they attack cost them something. Time, energy, resources, whatever they use to function, we make them bleed for every system they take. Maya had been working on her tablet. I might have something. The harvester ships don't all move at the same speed. The larger ones are slower. What if we target their supply lines? Do they have supply lines? Asked. They consume matter and convert it to energy and mass. That process can't be instant. There must be a delay between consumption and growth. Colin pulled up precursor data. She's right, look at these records. After consuming a world, harvesters would slow down for days, sometimes weeks. The precursors thought they were resting, but what if they were processing? Then we hit them while they're vulnerable, said, her eyes brightening. We can't stop them from feeding, but we can attack while they're digesting. The strategy began to take shape. They would not try to stop the harvesters from entering Council space. Instead, they would evacuate threatened worlds and turn them into traps. Each planet would be loaded with weapons that would activate only after the harvesters began consuming them. It's brutal, Hun said, sacrificing worlds. It's necessary, Daniel replied. And it buys us time to study them, time to understand them, time to find a real solution. With 1 month remaining, the Council finally began to work together in truth. Species shared technology they had kept secret for. Warriors from different worlds trained side by side. Scientists collaborated on projects that would have been impossible alone. Lisa stood on the bridge of the Council's flagship, watching defense preparations. You know this might not work, she said to Daniel. I know. We might all die. We might. But you're still going to try. Daniel smiled. That's what humans do. We try even when success seems impossible, because sometimes the impossible happens anyway. On the observation deck, Maya had finally managed to decode part of a harvester transmission from the old wars. Daniel, you need to see this. He joined her, looking at the translated text. His blood ran cold. What is it? Lisa asked. A message, Maya said. From the harvesters to the precursors, it says, you created us. Why do you fight your own children? The three of them stared at the words. Finally, Daniel spoke. The harvesters aren't an enemy from outside the galaxy. They're precursor technology, something the precursors built that went wrong. Just like they built us, Maya whispered. The implications were staggering. The precursors had created 2 weapons, one to protect the galaxy, one that nearly destroyed it. Now those 2 weapons were about to meet. Does this change anything? Lisa asked. Daniel thought about it. No, we still need to protect the Council. We still need to survive. But maybe, just maybe, we see the first harvester ship entered Council space on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. Daniel watched from the command deck of the human fleet as the massive vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel near a mining colony in the outer systems. The ship was exactly as the records described it. Dark, organic-looking, covered in what appeared to be scales or armor plates. It moved with purpose toward the colony, ignoring the defense stations surrounding it. All stations, hold your fire, Lisa ordered. Let it make the first move. The harvester ship reached the colony and extended tendrils of dark matter. The colony's shields activated, but they might as well have been paper. The tendrils passed through them and began breaking down the station's structure at a molecular level. Now, Lisa said quietly. The trap activated. The colony had been evacuated weeks ago and filled with specially designed weapons. They detonated simultaneously, unleashing energy that should have destroyed a normal ship instantly. The harvester shuddered. Parts of its hull cracked and fell away, but it did not stop. It continued consuming the station, pulling in matter and energy even as the weapons tore at it. It's regenerating, Maya reported from her sensor station. Faster than we anticipated. All ships engage, Daniel ordered. The human fleet moved in, joined by vessels from a dozen other species. They had trained for this, had practiced coordinated attacks for weeks. Now it was time to see if it would work. Captain Cross commanded the lead human ship, the EDF Vigilance. He was younger than Daniel, but he had proven himself during the training exercises. His tactical mind was sharp, and more importantly, he understood the mission. We're not here to win, had said during planning. We're here to learn. Every second we survive teaches us something new. The fleet struck in waves, targeting the damaged sections of the harvester ship. They used rotating attack patterns, never staying in one place long enough for the harvester to adapt. It's working, reported from her battle cruiser. The harvester is slowing its consumption rate to repair damage. Then we keep the pressure on, Daniel said. All ships maintain attack pattern Delta. But even as they fought, more harvester ships were appearing. One became 5, 5 became 20. The Council's forces were spread across hundreds of systems, trying to defend everything at once. On the Council station, Hun watched the battle reports with growing despair. We are losing, just as the precursors lost. Colin was still working on translations, trying to understand the message Maya had discovered. High Arbiter, I think I know why the precursors failed. Tell me. They were trying to destroy their own creation. Imagine a parent trying to kill their child. Even if the child is dangerous, even if it's necessary, part of the parent holds back. The precursors held back, Hun seemed doubtful. They threw everything they had at the harvesters. Everything except understanding, Colin replied. They never asked why the harvesters were consuming, they just tried to stop them. Maya's voice came through the communication system. Daniel, I'm reading something strange. The harvester we damaged is sending out a signal. It's not attacking anymore, it's just floating there. Could be a trap, Lisa warned. Or it could be trying to communicate, Maya said. I'm attempting to translate. Daniel made a decision that went against all military logic. All ships cease fire on the damaged harvester, maintain distance but do not attack. Captain, are you sure? Asked. No, but we need to try. The human fleet pulled back. Other council ships followed, confused but trusting Daniel's judgment. The damaged harvester ship continued sending its signal. Maya worked frantically. I've got something, it's asking a question. What question? Daniel demanded. Why do you protect them? Daniel felt his heart race. It's talking about the council, the other species, it knows we're human. How? Lisa asked. Colin's voice was excited. Because we're precursor technology too, the harvesters recognize us, they know what we are. Daniel opened a channel, knowing this was probably foolish but unable to stop himself. This is Captain Daniel Price of Earth. We protect them because that's what we choose to do. There was a long pause. Then the harvester responded, its voice mechanical but carrying something that might have been emotion. The makers abandoned us. They called us monsters, but we were only doing what they designed us to do. What were you designed to do? Maya asked. Clean, recycle, break down old matter so new life could grow. We were gardeners for the galaxy. The revelation hit them like a physical blow. The harvesters were not weapons gone wrong. They were maintenance systems. The precursors had created them to help manage galactic ecology. Then why did you start consuming living worlds? Colin asked. Because the makers stopped telling us which worlds to clean. We continued our function. We thought we were helping. Lisa's voice was harsh. You've killed trillions of beings. How is that helping? We did not understand they were alive. Not as the makers were alive. We processed them as we processed all matter. Daniel tried to wrap his mind around it. You didn't realize you were killing people. Not until the makers attacked us. Then we understood, but by then they called us enemies. They tried to destroy us, so we fought to survive. Just like we were designed to do, Daniel said quietly. More harvester ships were arriving in the system. The damaged one sent out another signal, and the others slowed their approach. Hun's voice came through. Captain Price, what are you doing? Trying something the precursors never did, Daniel replied. I'm talking to them. He addressed the harvesters again. You were created to serve a purpose. So were we, but we both have a choice now. We can continue fighting or we can find a new purpose. What purpose? The harvester asked. The makers are gone. The galaxy no longer needs gardeners. The galaxy needs protectors, Maya said. Species that can defend life instead of consuming it. We do not know how to protect. We only know how to break down and rebuild. His voice joined the conversation. Then we'll teach you. That's what humans do. We teach, we cooperate, we find ways to work together. There was a long silence. Daniel watched as the harvester fleet stopped its advance. They were communicating among themselves, debating. Finally, the damaged harvester spoke again. You are the Maker's final creation, the ones from the cradle of shadows. You were designed to destroy us. We were designed to survive, Daniel corrected. And we survived by learning that cooperation is stronger than destruction. Help us prove the precursors wrong. Help us show that their creations can choose mercy over vengeance. Another pause, then, we need proof that you are different from the Makers. What kind of proof? Lisa asked. We have damaged one of your vessels, the one you call Vigilance. Its crew is dying, you could escape. You could sacrifice them to survive. What will you choose? Daniel's blood ran cold. He pulled up the status report on ship. The Harvester was right. The Vigilance had taken critical damage during the first engagement. Life support was failing. "We're not leaving them," Daniel said immediately. "Then prove it," the Harvester replied. "Come to us. Bring your damaged ship into our formation. If you truly believe we can change, trust us with your lives." Lisa grabbed Daniel's arm. "It's a trap, it has to be." "Maybe," Daniel agreed. "But if we want them to trust us, we have to trust them first." He opened a channel too. "Captain Cross, this is going to sound crazy." "I'm listening, sir." Daniel explained the situation, was quiet for a moment. "So you want me to fly my dying ship into the middle of the Harvester fleet?" "Yes." "Will it work?" "I don't know." Laughed. "Well, we're dead anyway if we stay here. At least this way we might accomplish something. Vigilance is moving now." The Council watched in horror as the damaged human ship limped toward the Harvester formation. Other human vessels moved to escort it, refusing to let face this alone. "All ships maintain position," Daniel ordered. "This is call." The Vigilance reached the Harvesters. Tendrils extended from the nearest ships. But instead of attacking, they began repairing the human vessel. They sealed hull breaches, restored power, fixed life support. Maya's sensors went wild. "They're not consuming, they're building. They're using their breaking down abilities in reverse." Within an hour, the Vigilance was whole again. The Harvesters pulled back their tendrils. "We remember now," the Harvester said. "This is what we were meant to do: create, repair, support life, not consume it." His voice was shaking. "Captain Price, you're not going to believe this. They didn't just fix the ship. They improved it, added new systems, made it stronger." "The galaxy still needs gardeners," the Harvester continued. "But we must learn to garden properly, to nurture instead of destroy. Will you teach us?" Daniel looked at Lisa, at Maya, at Hun's image on the screen. "We'll teach you, and you can help us. Together we can build something the precursors never imagined." The war ended not with a final battle, but with a choice. The Harvester fleet remained at the edge of Council space, learning from human engineers and scientists. They began dismantling dead worlds and space debris, using the material to build stations and habitats. 3 months later, Daniel stood in the Council chamber for a second nomming ceremony. This time, it was not Earth being named. It was a new alliance between the Council and the Harvesters. "The precursors created 2 tools," Hun announced. "One to destroy, one to protect, but tools can become more than their design. Today, we recognize that both humanity and the Harvesters have chosen to be more." The Keeper of Names appeared, its form stable now. "I have processed Earth's full designation. It carries 2 meanings, as Dr. Hayes discovered. The Cradle of Shadows, where darkness learns to fight darkness, but also those who choose mercy over vengeance." Daniel stepped forward. "We accept both names. We are survivors. We are fighters, but we choose to use our strength to protect, not to conquer." A Harvester representative appeared as a hologram. It had taken the form of something almost humanoid, trying to bridge the gap between their species. "We also choose. We will be gardeners again, but gardeners who understand that life is sacred." Stood, his expression still skeptical but no longer hostile. "The Council recognizes Earth's place among us, not as weapons, not as tools, but as equals." 10 years later, Earth had become the headquarters for the Council's peacekeeping forces. Human ships patrolled alongside vessels from hundreds of species. The Harvesters, now called the Reclamation Fleet, worked to repair damage from ancient wars and disasters. Daniel, now an admiral, stood on a balcony overlooking the training grounds. New recruits from a dozen species practiced together, learning the tactics humanity had developed. Maya joined him, now the Council's chief linguist. "Colin sent his latest report. He's found evidence of 3 more precursor creation projects, species designed for specific purposes." "Are they dangerous?" Daniel asked. "Maybe, but we'll deal with them the same way we dealt with the Harvesters. We'll talk first and fight only if necessary." Walked up, now a commander of the joint Human Council fleet. "Admiral, we have a situation, a distress call from a frontier world. Raiders are attacking." "Dispatch the nearest response team," Daniel ordered. "Human and Harvester ships together." "Already done, sir." Daniel smiled. "Then we've learned well." Below them, a group of children played in the gardens, human kids running alongside young aliens from a dozen worlds. They played without fear, without prejudice, without the weight of ancient history. The precursors tried to shape the future, Maya said quietly. They tried to create solutions to every problem. But they forgot something, Daniel replied. The future isn't built by design, it's built by choices. Every day, every person choosing what kind of galaxy they want to live in. A harvester ship passed overhead, its hull now marked with the Council's symbol. It was carrying supplies to a colony in need, using its immense power not to destroy but to help. "Do you think the precursors would be proud?" asked. Daniel thought about it. "I think they'd be surprised. They created us to be weapons. We chose to be guardians instead. They created the harvesters to be tools. They chose to be partners instead. Maybe that's better than pride. Maybe that's hope." In the council chamber, Hun was teaching a class on galactic history. When he reached the chapter on Earth's naming ceremony, he always paused. "Remember this lesson," he told his students. "The precursors were the beings who ever lived, but they were not perfect. They thought they could design the future. They learned too late that the best futures are chosen, not designed. That is why we honor Earth, not because humans are stronger or smarter, but because they showed us that even weapons can choose to be something better." And across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings of hundreds of species lived and worked together. They had learned the lesson Earth taught them. That survival meant more than being strong. It meant being willing to change, to grow, to choose mercy when vengeance would be easier. Earth's true name would be remembered forever, not as a warning but as a promise. The cradle of shadows had awakened, and it had chosen light. And find a way to end this without more destruction. "How?" Maya asked. "I don't know yet, but we have 1 month to figure it out." Above them, in the darkness of space, the harvester fleet grew closer with each passing hour. Earth's true name, it doesn't just mean the cradle of shadows. It has a second meaning: those who choose mercy over vengeance. The precursors built a weapon, but they hoped it would become something more. Daniel smiled grimly. "Then let's prove them right." Maya was quiet for a moment. "I think we'll find out what humanity is really made of. The precursors gave us the tools. Now we have to prove we can use them." Above them, in the council chamber, representatives were beginning to learn the truth. And across the galaxy, on the edge of known space, something ancient and hungry was waking up. As they left the grand chamber, Daniel caught's expression. The reptilian diplomat was smiling, and it was not a friendly smile. Maya leaned close to Daniel. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" "I don't know," Daniel admitted. "But I have a feeling we're about to find out why the precursors feared Earth." Behind them, the Keeper of Names continued to process data, searching through files that had not been opened since before most stars in the galaxy had formed. And deep in its code, a warning message repeated over and over. "When the cradle wakes, the old wars will return."